Yeah, obviously, it's a bye week this week. Comes at a good time for us for a lot of reasons. I think some guys are a little bit nicked and beat up. That always helps you. But also try to regroup now for going down the stretch the next 4 games and get some things sorted out, offense, defense, as well as special teams. I think that's probably the most important thing. And then look at a bunch of the young players, which we did today. We had a period for a lot of the guys that don't play a lot in practice today, which I thought was good. Got to look at a bunch of young guys that haven't played a lot either on either side of the ball and contributed one period of practice today, about 20 minutes, just for those guys. So I thought that's a good idea to make sure we're bringing those guys along. We'll do that the next 3 days. Then these guys will get off Thursday, come back Sunday, and SC week begins. Big week for us, going down the stretch here. So that's kind of where we're at as a football team, and I think we have a lot of work still to do, and we got to find a way to win a game again. That's probably the most important thing.
Questions? Coach Mike,
Mm-hmm.
sports hangover. You talked about obviously your personality, even to be able to be in short-term memory, touched on it before. But now, after the stretch, for the young guys, how big is it for you to keep them kind of energized mentally?
Well, it is, and I think when you have a young team like this, and there's a lot of energy when you're 5-1. Just goes along with the territory when you're 5-1. When you're 5-3, you've lost 2 games in a row. That's not a lot of fun. How do you deal with that? I mean, how do you deal with losing? Obviously, it's got to hurt you in the belly, and you got to find a way to win another game. And none of these games are layups. They'll all be very difficult. But here again, if we play like we're capable of playing, then we'll have a chance in every game. And I think that's the whole deal now with energy. You know, they've been riding this wave of being a pretty good football team, and all of a sudden you lose a couple. And how do you react to that? Whether it's the veteran guys or the young guys, how do the young guys, take that? How do they look at that? Is it, this season's over with, we can wait till next year? No, you can't. The most important game is this week. You put in too much work in football to think that a game's not important. They're all important. They're all individual games, and you got to prepare every week to win a game, and that's what we're going to do.
Herm Edwards, Devil's Digest. Through this 2-game losing streak, is there one aspect you would characterize as an unpleasant surprise, something that you didn't see 3 weeks ago and now is really manifesting itself?
I think the emotion of the team, we were pretty calm. We weren't going into the Utah game. We were the least penalized team, I think, in the Pac-12. And then all of a sudden this emotion kind of rearing its head. For some reason, and that's not good. I don't believe in that. I just believe in, you can be passionate, but you can't play emotional, because when you do that, you make errors, and then that's what's kind of caught me a little bit by surprise. Some of it has to do with youth, but then again, some of the guys were older guys, and you expect those guys to be more like, wait a minute, what are you doing here, right? So it's just a phase we're going through, and when you're building a program like we're doing, you have so many young guys, you never know what's going to happen. You just don't. And I think it's a learning thing for me as well to handle all that and figure out how do I handle this, and hopefully that doesn't rear its head anymore. You can't have fouls. I mean, last game, we got off to UCLA got off to a good, not taking anything from those guys. They put us behind the 8 ball, where it was a game that we didn't want to get into, having to pass all the time. We wanted to try to run the football and be balanced, but we didn't play good enough defense, or we caused the series to continue because of a foul or something silly, and so those are the type of things that for me, it's like, this is uncharacteristic of how we played. We got to get back to playing that way.
Coach Mike Pelton, ABC 15.
Sure.
I'm not even sure if you're aware, but about an hour ago, the NCAA announced they're going to allow college athletes to profit off their name, image, and likeness. Just curious your reaction to that.
I don't know the rules and stipulations of what's gonna happen there. So for me to comment on that, I always tell players the same thing. Until you have enough information to make a comment, don't make one. Because I'd hate to make a comment and I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'll leave it at that. And once I get enough information on the subject, I'm sure you'll ask me the question. I'm sure I'll probably have a pretty good answer. Okay? That's just fair to me and fair to everybody else involved. I don't want to put myself somewhere where I don't have all the information yet. Thanks for the question, though.
Jeff Metcalf, Arizona Republic. You mentioned some of the younger players, and we're getting into that Final Four game, not counting a bowl game period, do you have some people that you might think about using as you go forward here?
We're looking to make sure, we know we have 4 games left, and if some guys haven't played, we might try to get some guys in some games, and we got to make sure if they're right on the edge now playing forward, do we want to redshirt the guy or do we want to continue to play? And that's what we're going to talk about this week. By the end of the week, we'll have a pretty good idea of what guys are going to redshirt, what guys. I do know this. I was visiting with AP, and I want to say next year I think we're going to have maybe 5 seniors on this football team. There should be juniors, sophomores, and then how many freshman guys we bring in here, so we're going to be pretty young. But at least some of these guys have already played, and the junior guys will be the kind of the older guys. There won't be that many seniors, so we're heading in the right direction of what we want to do. So we just have to figure out, as you just mentioned, what guys are we going to redshirt and what guys we're going to continue to play right through it.
Chris Carbon, Son of a Source. Herm, sometimes I think coaches maybe are trying to walk the line of being a player's coach and a discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny Gonzalez has talked about if you go too far on one side,
right,
then you get out of balance, right? So after coming off of 2 losses, like where do you feel like things are at with the team, the buy-in, people doing everything they're supposed to be doing?
Well, I just think every year you find out, unless you have a veteran team, you don't know how teams handle losing or a loss, right? So it's all new because we're 5-1 at one point. We've lost 2 in a row. So how do we handle that? And I think that's what you have to learn. You learn that about your team, and then from there you adjust to what's happened, and you got to get them in the frame that okay, we lost 2, but there's still a season left, and we got to play. We got to prepare to win another game, and that's what it is. And I just think a lot is made on coaches' personalities. Are they a player's coach? All coaches are players' coaches. I mean, that's overused. It's like, and I just think that there's this image of if you're this guy that's stern and you walk around, well, you're not a player's coach. You're a player's coach. Because without the players, you can't play. I mean, you need the players to play. And you better have a relationship with them. So then there's a guy maybe like me and say he's a player's coach. Well, I got more discipline than most people in the world. I mean, I'm that far off there. I'm way over there with discipline. I mean, in details, I'm that guy. I don't know anything different. But I think sometimes the perception of how I say things is like, well, no. That's not true. There's a line that you can't cross, and everyone knows the line. And when you cross it, there's repercussions. But I don't vocally, jump up and down and do it. I just do it my way. And all of a sudden, it's just people look around and players look around and they go, oh, we just saw what happened. I don't embarrass people. I don't believe in doing that. No player wants to be embarrassed. No coach wants to be embarrassed. But you have to understand that there are standards you got to meet, and when you don't meet those standards, there's going to be some consequences. And so that's how I handle all that. And I just don't buy into that. Well, he's a player's coach. Every coach is a player's coach because you need those guys to play. And it's just everyone has a different way of doing it. So that's how I look at that. And I say that as a former player, and I've had different coaches with different ways of coaching. And you understand the culture and you fit yourself in the culture and you go play.
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic. Coach, can you update us on some of the injuries? I know Darian Butler was in a walking boot. And
yeah.
Who else?
Sore ankle. So we put him in a walking boot. We kind of held him out. Kalen was a little sore. He's okay. Lee is he didn't practice today. He should be okay. A little sore, a little shoulder. Other than that, I mean, most of the guys are okay. There's some soreness in a bunch of guys, but I'm hoping everybody should be ready to play. We got a week off, so another week to prepare, so we should be okay.
Anyone else?
Hey, Coach, Mark McLean, 3TV, CBS 5. How will you spend your week off? Do you take a break from the details? Will you watch football?
No, I don't have no week off. No, there's no off season for me right now. I'm going to do what I always do, just I was really organized with what I wanted to get accomplished with the coaches on the bye week. Stressed a lot of things that we needed to get done, and they've got a plan for that. But I'll be in the office. I'll be here every day. The coaches will go, I want to say on the road Thursday for the most part. After practice, they'll go out and recruit, but I'll be here all week. I'm not going anywhere. I've got stuff I got to do. Head coach's job never done. We lost 2 in a row. You feel like, oh boy, how we get this, how we get our momentum back, and that's the whole key. We got to get our momentum back, and just we got to play with more poise than we did the last 2 games. We got to get that back, and if you get that back, then we'll be competitive again, and we'll have an opportunity to win some games, down the stretch, and that's what you want to do. And we've kind of lost that a little bit, and a lot of it has more to do with the opponent. It was us. It was just us. It was not the opponent so much. It was us. And I want to give I'm not taking anything away with the opponent. We were beaten fairly, but there's a way that we played. We got to get that back. We got to get that feeling back, and that's the key now. Is how do we get them going again, where we can stay competitive, where we can be in a football game and have a chance to win. That's the key.
Doug Haller with The Athletic. Herm, you mentioned the last 2 weeks, a lot of the mistakes have involved younger players, but the one with Eno when he threw the ball at the official, what's the lesson there? Because Eno's a guy that's been through it. He's a captain. Maybe the official just misread what his intentions.
Well, I don't know if I told you guys, but what had happened, what had transpired before that point, Eno might have had said something to the official. And the official reminded me, and then I reminded Eno. And then as he got off the pile, he threw the ball back to the official, and the official didn't see it. And the official thought, right. So he calls a penalty, rightly so, whatever. I'm not saying the official's wrong. We're wrong for putting ourselves in that position. And so I think you learn from that. You got to learn from it. And he's got to, and Eno will learn from that because he has aspirations to play at the next level. And you can't, that can't be part of it. Because that hurts the football team, and I think he realizes that. I mean, he's very humbled about, and so you leave it at that. It's a learning deal, and you got to look at it that way. That's how. Now, if guys become repeat offenders, then there's a problem. Then that becomes a problem. That becomes an issue, right? And so it's not going to be an issue with him. I mean, he understands, and I think our players understand. They're very remorseful when it's all said and done, when things of nature like that happen. And you can tell when I talk to them, it's like, hey, and you got to take it for what it is as a coach. And you got to trust your players. And when they're in moments like that they'll do the right thing.
Herm, when your offensive line is young and developing in some ways, having a robust tight end capabilities would be an advantage. But you had a freshman who had 2 false starts when you put him in to start the game. And so can you just speak to the personnel challenges that you have associated with those things?
Well, they say in pro football, for every rookie you start, you're going to get at least 3 errors in a football game. So do the math. How many guys we got out there that are running your eyes? Just do the math. And it just happens. And you can say you get mad at them, but what are you mad at them for? You already know what's going to happen. It's just, when does it happen? Does it happen in a critical moment? It kind of sets you back. Those 2 kind of set us back, right? And it just happens. But that's what you deal with when you play that many young guys, because they don't know what they don't know yet, and we did it all week. We said, look, they're going to shift the line. The last 2 weeks, they've done that to us. And we've had guys that false start. We get the left tackle, right? Freshman. They shift, he false starts. We practiced it, we went over it, and he didn't mean to do it on purpose. But the anxiety of those guys going in the game is kind of like it comes out sometimes. And so until they mature and go through it, you got to live with it. And that's what we got to live with. I'm okay with it because in the long run, we're going to be a better team for all this stuff. That's my opinion. That's what I believe in. So we're good.
Herm, Nick King.
Yes, sir.
3TV, CBS 5. You were talking about this team needing to find, I forget what words you used, but basically the mojo that they had earlier in the season. in your experience, what do you do to kind of stop the bleeding or refine something like that?
Win a game. That's the best. It's like I always say, it's funny in football, like in sports. You when you got it, you got it, and it's just a wonderful thing. You watch it and you say, ooh, how long can we hold on to it? We lost it. We lost it. We got to find it again. And every team goes through that. Players know, coaches know. It's it. It's like, how did they do this? This is it, man. We had it going. We kind of lost it a little bit. A lot of it is due because of youth and how did they handle success and all those things. I mean, that has something to do with it too. That I think that's not talked about a lot. And when you don't have an experienced team, and the next guy up has less experience than the other young guy you just put in, it all magnifies itself. And that's not an excuse. It's the reality of it. And I think any coach knows that. And you live with that. You live with the fact that these things are going to happen, and early in the season, they did not. We kind of made it through. We played in a lot of close football games. If you look at the way we played, there's nothing. The abnormal game was the UCLA game. But every game was close. I mean, our home opener was close. We played two teams that, everybody said we should. Those two teams ended up being pretty good, actually. They got pretty good records, right? But it was close for a while. And then, it was close. Michigan State was close. We kind of played that way, and now all of a sudden we've kind of got our way. We've lost our way a little bit, but we got to find it. And that's the whole challenge of it all. And we got 4 weeks to do that. So we'll see how it ends up. But I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to keep coaching. The coaches will keep coaching. The players will keep practicing. And a win fixes all that, to be quite honest. A win makes everybody feel better.
Coach Brady Klein, Cronkite News here in the back.
Yes, sir.
I know you said you don't want to comment on it now, but how often do you hear players and recruits talking about the possibility of the NCAA likelihood and the Likeness Act like that?
I don't hear a lot of players talking about it. I think they might talk about it in their groups. And this is a subject that's been in the air for a long time. I think once it gets settled to what they want to do, then I can comment on it. I know this. Whatever you do in sports at any level, if it helps the sport, then you need to do it. But I don't know what all the rules are. I have no idea. And I'm not going to sit here and say I do. But whatever it does, as long as it helps the sport and everybody can benefit from it, and you do the right thing for the sport. And that's it. That's what we got to do. We always say, as adults, we get to make the decisions. Right? So make an adult decision. Look at the long term of sports and say, is this the best way to go? And if it is, then make some rules and some sanctions to say these are the standards, these are the rules we all got to live by, and every coach and every player will understand it, and we'll all live by it. Can you imagine what college football was in the 50s compared to now? What it is? I mean, it's all evolved. I mean, pro football, for God's sakes. Those guys used to have second jobs, right? I mean, so it's all evolved, and it evolved. And you can't go hide in the corner and say it's not the good old days. It evolves, man. We evolve as a society. It's part of it. And if you don't do that, then you're hurting the game. So just do I always say, just do what's right, because right's always right. Right is going to be right until eternity. And that's all we got to do. Just do the right thing. And those guys will figure it out. I'm just trying to figure out how to beat USC and win a football game. I got a lot on my plate, man. Those guys are really good. They got a lot of talented players.
So, Herm, from talking to your team after the game and then in recent days,
yeah.
What's the readout been in terms of where you think that they're at in the collective?
I think they're trying to find themselves, like all young teams, and trying to define themselves, just trying to figure out, how do we do this? We got to help them as coaches, obviously, but then eventually they got to help each other. And now I will say this: I think the middle of the third quarter, I saw that energy kind of come back. I kind of went, oh, that's those guys, right? And so, and I get it. Game was different in the fourth quarter. It was different. They were trying to run the ball, which they did the whole game, but we stopped them. We got some turnovers, and and we scored some points, and that looked like us. Can you imagine we'd done that in the beginning of the game? It would have been a nice competitive football game. But early, it was not very competitive. We were behind, and then they had to make a decision. Was this going to be like really, really bad, or was this going to be like, hey man, let's get back in this and see if if there's enough time on the clock, maybe we can get back in this. And to their credit, on both sides of the ball, they did that. And that's a good sign. That's not a bad. We didn't win, but that's a good sign, and we got to build on that. Hopefully, we will.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You were talking about UCLA's ability to run the ball, and teams haven't really done that much on you.
Yep.
Where do you see like your front seven and particularly your D line? Where do you think they're at right now?
Well, I think a lot of it. We were short a gap on times. We missed some tackles on time at times, and they had 80 plays, and they ran it like 50-something times. That's not good. And they made some big runs. They hit a couple big ones. The back hit a couple big ones. It was almost like the game last year. Except we had 80 plays and we ran it 59 times. We had 280 yards rushing or something like that. And the quarterback made a bunch of plays with his legs. He got out of contain on us. But we were sometimes a gap short because we were in the coverage that left us a gap short, and they hit it, and sometimes we weren't in the right gaps. And then at the end, we found our way and we got it right, and then we kind of slowed it down because at the end they were trying to run the ball. They were playing against the clock, so we had to make some run stops to get the ball back. They were able to do that and got some turnovers, so it's fixable. Just got to fix it. So.
Coach, you talked about, obviously, Jaden growing throughout the year, being calm, and his teammates looking to that. A lot of his teammates saying he's not a freshman. With these two, obviously, tough games, but him still battling back, how do you feel that his leadership has even more so grown in these two games?
Well, I like what he did at halftime. He talked to a couple of the veteran guys on defense, some of the guys, and just told them to say, man, we're going to score, just get us the ball back. Just keep playing hard, and it was good to see him do that. So he's... he has his way of leading. He is not as vocal as some people may like it, but he has his way. He can touch the team. I mean, as we all know, by next year, this will be his football team. He'll have a platform to speak on, and that's why he wasn't a captain this year. He said, I don't want you to be a captain. I just want you to play quarterback. And next year, this will be his football team. And everybody knows it. All the players know it, on offense or defense. It's going to be his football team to run, and he'll be a great leader because he has the mentality. He understands the players in the locker room. He does, and he understands the huddle, the guys he plays with. He understands who the guys are on defense that need to be talked to every once in a while, that need a lift if something happens. And he was good at halftime. He really was. He was good, man, with those guys. And whispered in their ears. He wasn't loud. He didn't call them all up. That's a lot of that stuff is. This TV stuff, call them all up and it makes it sound good. Every leader's a little bit different. But the whole key is when you lead, well, they follow you and they listen. They'll follow this guy and they'll listen to him. So that's good.